All right. Well, hello. Welcome to the podcast where
Hello.
another episode. We're going to have a chill one today because we've had a lot of consecutive podcasts where we were talking about heavy subjects, but
And now we're just chilling.
just a little bit chilling a bit. But I got to be honest, there's a lot of heavy stuff that also just happened like literally a day ago.
Yeah. I read about it and I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
this year needs to be over already. It's too crazy.
It's either this year needs to be over or the world just needs to end.
I
I'm just kidding.
know. I mean, I feel like we're in like some crazy apocalyptic type situation already. You know, we have fires starting from a gender reveal party. We had an
Yeah.
earthquake last night.
Yep.
Like, you know, we're only we're like 3/4 of the way till the world ending, you know?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away.
You know, among the other people that have passed away, like Black Panther. I'm just kidding. It's
Yeah.
Chadwick
Oh yeah,
Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman. Yeah, passed away. So yeah, today we're gonna have like a quick one. Just kind of like a hangout, maybe about an hour, with Kalani, my anime co-host. And
Which we haven't talked about anime
we
in
haven't talked
months.
about anime in a while. To be fair, I've been like, I think part of it is that I've been enjoying these like single subject form podcasts for a while, and I've liked doing these. Like I like doing these podcasts, but my niece has all of a sudden started watching other anime. I'm like, oh, I should be getting back at it.
You should do your anime podcast with your niece.
Would that be weird? You know, she's super young. I think that I would be very wary of that.
I
You know
think
what I
if
mean?
everybody was okay with it, I think I would find it interesting because like I've watched anime since I was like, oh god, how old? A long time ago. Was
At an appropriate age where, you know, watching Full Metal Alchemist at like super young.
No, you know what? I didn't even watch Full Metal Alchemist when I started out. I watched Naruto when I started out, and then
Oh,
I
did you?
watched Full Metal Alchemist like this past year.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Did you watch Brotherhood or did you watch the first run?
I got recommended to watch Brotherhood.
Oh, okay.
So I watched that in
Mm-hmm.
2019, I think, because I was watching it when I was in. Actually, I watched it probably around like 2018, 2019, somewhere around there, because I watched a little bit of it when I was doing a trip abroad. So.
Oh, was this your trip to Vietnam when you were doing the marathon?
Yeah. So I was already kind of watching it around that time,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't watch it when I first started. My first starting anime was Naruto, and then even before that, I
Okay.
was reading like shoujo manga. So
What's shoujo?
okay, so there's two genres of like manga, right? So there's
Mm-hmm.
shonen mangas and shoujo mangas, and like shonen ones are like the ones that you normally see get serialized into like animes, which is like your Full Metal Alchemist, your
Naruto.
Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, like all of
Mm-hmm.
those action ones. And then shoujo is like you're very like it's like the equivalent of watching a K-drama. It's like very more on like the emotional drama,
It's like a slice of life.
relationship,
Yeah.
slice of life, that type of thing. I mean, like not all slice of life shows fall or mangas fall into like shoujo, I think,
Mm-hmm.
but like it encompasses some of those tropes, if that makes any sense.
And that genre.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like well, this is like a pseudo anime podcast. Ever watched this anime called His and Her Circumstance?
No, I have not.
Yeah, it's like a relationship anime that's like takes place in like high school, and there's like gender dynamics and stuff like that. And I think it was made in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah,
Like
I've
the
never
art
heard of
style,
it.
yeah, the art style is pretty old. It was on Funimation when it used to have a network. That's how I watched anime a lot back in the day. I think the digital networks. I think Funimation had like a specific channel where they produce and dub like dubbed anime. It was easily available before like Crunchyroll and all of the websites came out.
Mm.
Yeah.
I feel like the first thing I watched where I didn't know it was like an anime
Mm-hmm.
was uh,
It was
the
called
name is
Yaoi. I'm just kidding.
no. The name was really lame. It's called it's called Princess Tutu.
Appropriate.
It's literally a ballerina like character that is like a has superpowers. And this
Yeah.
was like on YouTube back in the day where you could just post anything on YouTube.
Right. Right.
So someone posted like the entire series on there, and I guess one day I just randomly found it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just was like, all right, I guess I'm gonna start watching. Keep in mind, I was probably like 11, 10, 11. I was like super young.
I was super
So
young when I watched Read or Die. Have you ever seen that anime?
no, I'm not.
It's like these like I if I remember, like these characters derive their power from like reading and like it's like a weird supernatural anime, I guess.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, but it's set in like like Tokyo and these characters, it's pretty violent, and it's also like it's anime stereotypes pretty busty women,
Oh Jesus Christ!
especially the OVA.
I feel like the only really violent one that I've the two violent ones that I've really watched have been one was Psychopass. Psychopass is super good. I love Psychopass.
Yeah.
At least the first season. But the second one I probably watched that was kind of violent, but you would never expect it to be, would be Made in Abyss.
Made in Abyss. Well, what's Made in Abyss?
So Made in Abyss is a newer anime that came out probably like a year or two
Mm-hmm.
ago, I want to say. Um, they have like very interesting characters, but all the kids are like kids.
Yeah.
So they're like traveling, and there's like this huge thing. It's like a huge hole in their town, right? And like the further you go into it, the higher the chance that you can't get out.
It's like a
But
Dante's Inferno situation.
I'm not sure. But anyways, so there's a main character. I don't remember her name anymore, but she has
Mm-hmm.
like blonde pigtails and stuff. And her mom was like known for being like a really big person in that town. Like
Right.
everybody knew who her mom was. But one day her mom went missing, and everyone always says that she's at the bottom of the abyss. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
called the abyss. Anyways, she's at the. They apparently are saying that like she was at the bottom, and so the daughter was like, "I'm gonna go find her."
Mm-hmm.
So she and another character both embark on a journey to go further into that huge ass tunnel thing, and yeah, no, it's. I didn't. You would not think that it's a violent show, and it's not violent in the sense that like it's a lot of like killing and stuff, but it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely like there are times where you watch and you're like, "Oh my god, this shouldn't be happening to kids," type
Oh
thing.
God. You know what that reminds me of? It was well, what was that anime? Gate, right? There's a character that's supposed to be like eternally a kid, but she's like 1,000 years old, and she's like super lewd. I'm just like, what the?
I have
Who
never
made
heard
this
of that
story?
before.
Who made
I've
this
never
story
heard of
up?
it.
You wait. You have you seen Gate?
No.
No. Oh.
Okay, I watch anime,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but like I will have to admit I have a lot that I need to catch up on.
That's true. I think it's both of us. I feel like we probably fill in the gap for like someone who's like an otaku. Like we have like two separate like anime existences that kind of coalesce together.
I think if
One
anything,
person.
you and me both have like our knees into the water. Like we're
Yeah.
just knee deep, but there are other people that are like completely submerged. So we're just kind of like on the edge, chilling.
We're still sane. I'm just kidding. Not that there's anything wrong with anime. I'm just
It's a bit debatable after this year. I don't feel that
no.
sane.
Oh yeah, especially with COVID and everything. Yeah, I wonder
Uh,
what productions got delayed given this year.
I don't know. You know what's interesting though? That one company called Kyoto Animation, the one that
Yeah,
got,
yeah, yeah.
they're like releasing a whole bunch of new anime, so that's really good.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome that you know what that shitty thing that happened. I think what was it like literally last year? Was about 2 years ago at this point,
Oh
right?
God, I feel like it was 2 years ago. I can't even think about this year because like everything from this year, like January of this year, doesn't even feel like it's been in the same year. It feels like it's like a couple years before that. Like so much stuff has already happened that you kind of forget that there's a whole bunch of other things that happened in the beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like Australia had their massive fires.
Yeah.
Um, the whole thing with Kobe Bryant happened in the beginning of January. Like
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't feel like it's within this year.
It's let me fact checking. It was July 18th to the 19th. I guess the fire went through there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was last year, 2019.
Oh my god.
It feels like 2 years ago almost.
It doesn't. I mean, if you think about it now, it's almost 2 years. It's September, so
That is a very true. That is a true statement.
yeah. That's already super scary to think about. Like it's already
Mhm.
almost January. I don't like this feeling.
Uh,
It feels like it's been too long.
yeah, it feels like it's
Crazy.
admittedly too long. And you started school recently, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but everything got put on hold because I got sick.
Oh, really? Oh, like you couldn't even do online classes?
Well, okay, I'll explain the timeline because the
Okay.
timeline was literally this entire week.
Oh, okay.
Um, okay, as a disclaimer, I do not have COVID. I got tested for that, so it
Okay.
was not COVID. But like Monday, I started feeling super sick. Like in the morning, I had a migraine, and then at night, it was like fevers, cold chills, and like sweating, and like my throat hurt. It felt like someone was holding me like this.
Oh God.
Not like someone was choking me or anything like that, but I just felt a lot of pressure right here.
Right.
Right. Second day, right? I woke up, the migraine was gone, and then but I was thinking about it. It felt like something was in my throat. And I was like, "Oh my god, do I have COVID? If I get COVID right now and I haven't left my house, I'm gonna be pissed." Because I've at least tried my best to not go out as frequently, so I just
Right.
stay at home the majority of the time, unless I'm like
Unless you really
buying
need to.
chips or
Yeah.
something. So I was just like, "Oh god, if I got COVID somehow." So yeah, immediately booked an appointment to get a drive-in test for COVID, and then I like stayed home and stuff. And then on Wednesday, I realized that my actual throat wasn't actually sore.
Mm-hmm.
Like my throat felt fine, but it just was like in a lot of pain over here. My neck was like completely tender, and then this part started swelling.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So I was just like, well, on the bright side, the one main symptom of COVID, which is that you can't breathe, is not something that I have.
Right. Right.
So, but I had like the other symptoms because you look at the list, right? And everything on symptoms of COVID is like every symptom that you would have if you have a regular cold. It's like, excuse me, like fever, chills, like tough time breathing, sore throat, yada, like all that stuff, right? And I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, I could just have a cold and it'd be COVID too. So yeah, the process of getting tested for COVID was super interesting. Have you ever been tested for COVID yourself?
Yeah, I've been tested. I've got it scare earlier this year around June. We had a
Oh,
family member, and there was some family like traveling here and there. And then because of my workplace and the nature of the work we do by delivering food to families, right? They were all like, "Well, you just need to have to get a test." And so I was
safety
like,
precautions, yeah.
yeah, just in safety, because if we're doing food distribution, you don't want to get family sick that's already
Yeah.
quarantining already. So we got the test. You did a drive-through. I didn't do the drive-through. I was referred by a family friend to go to Pasadena.
Oh, what test
Yeah,
did you do? Is it the
it was
nasal?
a no. It was a nasal. Yeah, I kind of
Mm.
wanted to do the that blood test, but I was like, it's kind of not no point to that.
I don't even know how the blood test works.
It's just checks if you have like kind of like the trace amount of like it's like the antibodies, like just a
Mm,
sign that you've had coronavirus before, um, or you're going through it right now. As far as
mm.
I know, I am not a medical professional. I do not know what I'm talking about.
This is just a discussion about
This
COVID
this is
testing.
yeah, this is just a discussion, and this is from what I've heard and what I've been told. Anyways, besides that, the disclaimer. Um,
So did you
I
just go to an office and
Yeah, and then they swab like they don't like go they don't touch the base of your brain anymore. It's like it's only like right up to kind of like the bridge of your nose.
yeah.
Yeah. Did they touch your brain?
So I actually so I was doing the research, right? Because they have like a full website to tell you how to do the test because it's since it's a drive in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here, I'll tell you my experience because I took it
Okay.
on Wednesday and I got my results back in one day.
Really?
So,
Oh,
yeah,
awesome. Okay.
it was super fast. But it's like 1 to 3 days to get your test back. But anyway, so um my mom had told me that there was a test that's close to where I live,
Mm-hmm.
like a driving center,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. And then so I went to that particular like location. I found out that it's run by a specific company who has various different locations set up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I drove in, and it was like a parking lot, right? So the entrance was split off into like one section to drive in and one section to go out.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go in, there's like a queue of cars that are lining the side. And then there's a couple of tents set up here and there, and then
Right.
a bigger tent set up in the back side. So once you get up to where the people are to like first start talking to people, they tell you to, because you have to make an appointment first, so you get a confirmation number and then you have to show that and an ID, and you put it up to the window of your car,
Yeah.
and you just lower it a little bit, like the window just a little bit, so you can hear what they're saying. But otherwise, like the window will always be mostly up.
Mm-hmm.
And then after they get your confirmation number and then they get your identification and whatnot, they tell you to pull forward, and then they give you this bag. And in the bag, there's a tube with a whole bunch of liquid, and then the Q-tip.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have like two tents. So there's a tent A and a tent B. So they usually do it in groups of two, where they say like, okay, you and this person, you're gonna drive up to tent A. You and this person, you're gonna drive up to tent B.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get there, you park, and then you administer the test by yourself.
Oh, so it's like a self-test.
Yeah, they ask you questions like, do you know how it works? Do you need any help with it or anything like that? And if you watch the video that they provide, which,
Mm-hmm.
funny enough, they shot at the mall.
You mean like Santa Anita Mall?
Yeah, they shot it over there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yeah, otherwise, like, um, after you just kind of like, so what they do is they tell you you have to lean your head back as if you're like looking at the roof of the ceiling of your
Okay.
car. Is that what the top of your car is called? A ceiling?
Yeah, just a roof or a ceiling.
Roof. Anyway, and then you stick the swab into your nose and you swirl it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do the same thing on the other side, and then you open the tube with the liquid and you put the Q-tip in, you crack it in half,
Mm-hmm.
and then you close off the tube, make sure that there's no liquid leaking, and then you put it back into this biohazard bag.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're done, there's a blue bin
Mm-hmm.
that's outside, and they tell you to drop your bag and the tube in there afterwards. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have the Rona.
No, I do
That's
not.
a good sign because don't you live with elderly family members?
I luckily my one eldest family member moved out, but she moved out probably like a year before COVID hit. So
Oh,
now
okay. So in
it's just
2019.
me,
Yeah.
my mom, and my dad.
Oh,
But my
okay.
mom and my dad are getting a bit older. But you
Yeah.
know what? They're a lot more fit than I am. So yeah,
You could still do marathons with them. Don't undersell yourself.
I am no, I'm
Oh.
good. But
The-
yeah,
Yeah, well, we both had to take a test. I might have to take a test again recently.
Really?
It's not because I've been exposed, is that I've been trying to be a medical handler for my mom.
Oh,
Yeah.
you should try the drive-ins. The drive-ins are not that bad.
Well, she's doing like this thing where she's getting some stuff done with her eye. And
Oh,
so like because the surgery center, they're like, you have to do a COVID test. I was just like, can do do I have to take the test? Like, can my mom just like go in? And then they were like, well, it's only $20. I was like, I guess I could just take a test again.
for $20?
Yeah, because I don't know. It's just
Drive-in is free.
I they have a rapid test at that area. So they test you right before the procedure and for people to enter the building.
Oh, so you have to be administered that particular test for $20.
From what I've heard through the eye doctor that was telling us the information.
You should ask if you can do the alternative because there are free alternatives to it versus the $20.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, mm. Hmm.
It's only a price of an Apple TV movie.
That's basically a copay. You're just paying copay.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's basically a copay.
Yeah.
It could be worse. I could have been uninsured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I went to urgent care too.
Oh really?
Yeah, because of the neck swelling and stuff.
Yeah, you said it might have been a thyroid thing.
So after I got my test for COVID
Oh,
and
okay,
I
go
got
on.
the results back on Thursday, I was like, all right, I'm clear. I can call my doctor and ask if I can come in. And when I called my doctor was like, oh, we have no space for anybody until the end of September. And I was like, okay. And my mom on the side was like yelling at me to tell her my symptoms. And I was like, okay, well, I have a growth on my neck and I have no idea what to do about it, yada yada yada, whatever other symptoms I currently have. And then after talking about it, I was like, also by the way, I don't have COVID. She was like, oh, you got tested for it? I was like, yeah. So afterwards, the receptionist was like, all right, well, the doctor will call you a little bit later. And she
Mm-hmm.
called me. I called at 4 in the afternoon. She didn't get back to me until 9
And at the evening, I
night.
wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't even aware doctors can do that.
I think she's doing what she's trying to do is that she's seeing the serious patients, but the like otherwise it's going to be remote over the phone. But she
Oh,
didn't even examine me and heard my symptoms, and she told me gargle salt water.
okay.
And I was just like,
I wonder if it's like you've got it through the irritation of like the fires that are happening around the
it
area.
could be. I when I went to urgent care the next day
Mm-hmm.
because my aunt insisted that I go to get checked up and actually looked at.
Make sure it's not like cancer or anything.
Yeah, they said that this whole thing was a gland being swollen.
Oh, okay.
So it could be the fact that I have wisdom teeth growing out. It could be the
Okay.
fires. It could be a multiple things. But yeah, it's just
I like how we live close by the fires, by the way.
okay. Hold on, the fires are insane because
I know.
like a week ago we couldn't even see the sky. It looked like we were in some kind of like film,
Silent
like
Hill.
like no, it wasn't even Silent Hill. It was like draped in like sepia toned skies.
Yeah, yeah.
It looked like there was a tweet and some person was like talking about how like the sky looked like what you would see in films that talked about like very polluted cities, and they were like, huh, funny, isn't it? I was like, oh, this hurts, but it's so true.
Yeah, it's not a fiction anymore. It's the reality.
You remember the time in the beginning when COVID first started to happen where we were all like, ah, look, the smog in California has gotten so much better since we've all stayed home.
Yeah.
Look where we are now.
The smog is coming back because we're all opening back up again, which, to be fair, people are getting paychecks now,
The smog is not even coming back. It's the smog, the
No, it's a smog.
smoke, the fire.
Yeah, the fires. Also, a gender reveal party in San Bernardino.
Okay, I'm so tired of the gender. Well, okay, so I did some research on the whole thing about gender reveals, right? And
Okay.
then apparently, from what I understand, the first gender reveal party started because this lady was having such a hard time conceiving a baby that
Hmm.
when she had her gender reveal party, it was the first time that one of the babies that she got pregnant with actually got to the point of being able to have a gender.
Yeah.
So she
Oh, okay.
celebrated by having a cake which revealed the gender of the baby, and that's how everything started.
Yeah.
And now we have people blowing up things for just our gender reveal party.
Which I figured it, if you're responsible, by all means, go ahead. I don't care. But from what I've heard happened in San Bernardino, it was like they didn't prepare. It was dry everywhere where they were at. And then to try to put out the fire, all they had was water bottles.
Did you know that you can buy gender reveal party explosives for $99?
Yeah, I've heard of that. It's
Yeah,
like Namfo or something.
I don't remember, but
It's like those contact explosives. So basically it's like if you ever seen those TV shows where like on Discovery Channel back when they used to have content where people build firearms,
mm,
they use this specific type of explosive where if the bullet hits it, it explodes.
mm,
And so yeah, they sell that in some places. I don't know if California sells it. I know out of state you can definitely do it.
mm,
Um, in Nevada, I'm pretty sure they're more lax here than it is in California.
mm,
Um, there's also like the smoke bombs, which is basically it's not like a I don't know what specifically was it, but if they're calling it a smoke bomb, in airsoft when we used to play, there's like these little like smoke effects, right? And all they do is just spew a smoke.
yeah.
But the thing is, what people don't forget is like there's heat to it. There's a fuse, you light it, and there's fire, even though it doesn't look like fire.
Yeah, I just question it because like how did we get to the point of being like, oh, explosions for gender reveal party sounds like a really good idea.
I feel like it's like people are trying to one up themselves, right? Um, and then B, it's like it's another excuse to have a party where people buy other people more baby stuff.
I know, but just have a cake.
Yeah, just let it be chill, or just double up on one party or whatever.
Have you heard about the crocodile gender reveal parties?
Did Crocodile Dundee do it? I don't know.
No, some guy had like there was like a video of this guy, right? And he had like a pet alligator or crocodile or something like
Yeah,
that, and they like tempted the crocodile to
yeah,
bite this balloon, and it had
uh-huh.
like a puff of like pink or blue like whatever filled inside, so it just revealed the gender by the crocodile biting the balloon.
Yeah.
I was just like, what is happening out here?
It's insane, and the fact that this is not the first time a gender reveal party started like a brush fire or a dry fire or like a forest fire.
Okay, question.
Yeah, go on.
If you were to have a kid in the
Yeah.
future, would you want to have a gender reveal party with your significant other, or would you opt out of it?
Uh, I've always like to have an excuse for a party, but I think
Oh, that's true.
because I'm a very social person, it's like any excuse to get people together and just hang out. I
That's
would do it,
true.
but I think no. In these cases, I probably wouldn't.
In
You
a
know,
safer situation,
in a
right?
safer situation, if time this podcast, see what happens in like 5 or 10 years, where I'm gonna eat my words. Anyways, so the fact that I would make any excuse to have a party. Probably I
Just
would,
be like,
as
oh
long
my
as it's like the
god.
most safest thing. I don't think I would go out of my way to do something extravagant.
I could see you being like, oh my god, I want a game of chess. Party! Party!
Yeah.
I mean, not that I would complain. I'd totally come to a winning chess party.
I just got my 100 subscribers. Like, all right, let's go out to
eat. Party.
Get all the homies.
But anyway.
Yeah, but it's like I also got a thing too, because it's like, you know, a gender reveal party is akin to almost like a baby shower. So it's like there's more to it. It's more to it than just a party, you know?
Oh, I didn't even really think about that. It's just a baby shower. You already know what gender the baby is, right?
Yeah. So like in that case, it's like I would rather just not have a gender reveal party. It'll just be a
baby shower. Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah. And then I don't know. That would have to be a discussion between me and the other person, that, you know, whoever future significant other, you know, I would have to have a conversation with them too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as I know, I don't think I would want to do a gender reveal thing. Like, I have family members that never done it. It was never been a big thing in my family.
I feel just, like
you get the kid and then that's it, you know.
I'm like even trying to think, like, what happens in the process of getting pregnant? Do you like, okay, like more so in the party aspects, like you have a baby shower.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. I thought you disconnected for a second. That was a long pause.
I'm sorry. I'm struggling to think about it because I have, like, my brain is wired to currently being like, kids. I don't need kids right now.
Leave it to like 20 somethings to try to talk about marriage and having a kid. Right now we're probably strapped with debt.
You know what? No, there are. I know there are people out there currently that like would get married.
Yeah.
And probably would have kids, but I'm just like thinking to myself, like I'm like standing on the side like a wine aunt or something at a wedding, being like, nice. And then just being like drinks. It's not even a wine, it's like a Coke. I'll just be like drinking, tossing back a Coke.
So speaking of, that reminds me of a slight tangent. It's like someone showed me this shirt that said punk on it, and it said proud uncles with no kids. I would love to have that shirt.
Can I have a pank? Proud aunts with no kids.
Proud aunts with no kids? Yeah, sure. We'll just go to everybody's gender reveal party and then get scones by social media. I'm just kidding.
Honestly, no. At this point, like, genuinely, like, I have thought about this, right? I was like,
go on.
Realistically, like, I could understand if somebody was like, get married late 20s, have a kid 30, 31, right? Because then you'd have a good timeline to see your kid grow up and stuff like that. But like me personally right now at 24, I'm just like, why would I have a kid right now?
My mind is not there either, too, you know?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Like, I never really thought about that. Like I know how, you know, family members that do, you know, that's already married and of whom have kids already. I'm just like, yeah, good for you.
Honestly, I'm genuinely super happy for people that do get married and do have kids, but honestly, personally, I'm just like, no.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like to each their own, and it kind of sucks because, you know, of course, we're Asian Americans. I feel like there is some tacit pressure to be, hey,
I can't even take care of myself right now, and I'm 24. Like, I'm good. I'm absolutely fine.
Well, at least, you know, there's some people that just don't know. They get into a relationship and then like they try to figure themselves out on the process, and I don't know if that's okay either.
You know what I do find slightly interesting though? I feel like the acceptable age to be getting married is slowly getting like lower and lower, and even having kids, because you know Kylie Jenner got pregnant and had a kid when she was like 18, 19, right? And like, actually, no, you know what? There are people that do get married around like 19,
younger,
20, and then like have a kid super early. So I can't really say that per se, but I feel like, I don't know if it's just me because now I'm older and I'm thinking about it this way, but it seems like it feels a lot more acceptable to have a solid relationship and then get married and then have kids like super young.
Would you say that's kind of like more like a trend, not the like not like a long term trajectory? You know?
Well, I don't know if it's like a trend, you know what I mean? Cuz it's like sometimes I think about it and I feel like it's a lot more acceptable, but
Yeah,
other times I'm just like is it because like people like Kylie Jenner or like some
influencers.
yeah, influencers make it much more of an acceptable thing because there's so many that are
Hmm.
doing it, or is it kind of more just like it's always been that way, it just hasn't been obvious, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I can kind of see it. And here's the thing: it's like to each their own, right? It's like
Yeah,
if if marriage is something that you want to do when you're younger, that's fine.
right.
It's about personal agency, and that's ultimately a conversation with that person that's in the relationship with their significant other,
Yeah.
and it has to be back and forth, and it
Mhm.
can't just be like set on an expectation that family has, or it has to be a conversation. At least I
Right.
would hope so. Maybe I'm just an internal optimist when it comes to something like this.
I agree.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So no gender reveal parties for the next couple of years. Let's calm it down,
please,
y'all.
no, I absolutely will not unless it's a dog. I will have a dog reveal party.
And it'll be if it's a beagle or poodle or chihuahua. Just kidding.
Honestly, I love beagles though. Beagles
Oh
are
my
so
god.
cute.
Tight, tight. I totally agree with you. Beagles are like number one dog for me.
I love I love Jack, who's my dog who happens to be an old man now, an old
Hmm.
beagle man.
Hmm.
Um
I love your dog.
you need to come by and meet him. I don't think you've ever met Jack before, have you?
We've met. Yeah, I met your. I think I met Jack, but I also met your big dog that
Oh,
scares me.
Marley, the big behemoth of Marley. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, Jack is he a lovely old man. You know,
Hmm.
he's all grayed out now. Me and my mom are pretty sure he has some like sight and hearing problems, but whenever he
Hmm.
sees someone, he always gets super happy.
Hmm.
So he's a great guy. I love Jack,
If I
but
were, I was gonna say if I were to get another dog again, it would be a beagle.
you should totally get a beagle. Oh well, beagles are super loud though. I think that's like the one thing people are just kind of like,
Iffy on beagles.
yeah, because they bark a lot.
Yeah, I think I remember when I had a beagle before it did bark, but totally loved my chihuahua. We had like
I love beagles though.
little bulldog chihuahuas by the end of the by the time I think the we had to give the dogs away, we were like there was like five puppies apparently out of a chihuahua.
Oh
And
my
I was
god.
just like as a kid in middle school, I was like, can this is this like a thing? Like can a chihuahua have this many kids? It's like a chihuahua is like not big.
Now I'm just thinking of like my cat that had like 4 or 5 babies. She's a small cat too. Now that I think about it,
You know this conversation reminds me of?
what?
Oh wait, no, this is a you know what, this is a story that Vincent has to talk about. I think he mentioned it before.
Just have a group catch up day one of
Yeah,
these days.
one
Just
of
have a
these days.
podcast and you can bring me and Vincent along. We'll just talk the entire
Yeah.
time.
Speaking of like a virtual podcast, our Australian friend, we I don't know why we haven't had a chance to just do a podcast with him
I've
because we
always been
messed up.
busy.
Yeah, I think it's just been busy. I've also recognized it's like time differences. And it's like, what is a convenient time for the to record on my end in the
Okay, I
US?
did ask him if he wanted to join today, but he has a massive essay he has to do by tonight,
Mm.
so he can't join. But I'll ask him again if he's comfortable with doing another one another day.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we should just plan it out and just be like, hey, October, let's set a date.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. There's time. There is so much time.
I only mentioned it because I was cleaning out my phone and then I saw the old recording.
Yeah.
I saw the recording of it, of us trying to go through our podcasts.
When the
Um,
time comes, I'll ask him again.
and it's also very timely too if he does join because it's like California. It's like Australia had this fire, and he was fighting that fire too, and California's on fire now. Let's
I
talk
think it'll
about
be,
fires.
you know what? I think it'll be a very different discussion because I've had discussions about fires before, right?
Yeah,
Australia, they do like the whole thing where they God, what is it? They do control burns, so it
yeah,
isn't as bad. But California doesn't do that.
yeah.
So when we get a wildfire, it goes freaking insane.
Hmm.
But also, like this particular fire was just kind of like a bad decision that accumulated into even more bad decisions all around.
But
So
then we're also in the U.S. where COVID is not necessarily in control, like as other places. So
okay,
there's less
well,
people fighting the fires, right?
it was only expected that COVID was going to get worse
Right.
because I mean, if you've I don't know how I learned this from watching someone playing Pandemic or
Go
whatever.
go on.
You know the game Pandemic, right? The
Yeah,
one where
yeah.
you try to start a pandemic or like a worldwide illness and try your whole goal is to try to kill everybody. But
Yeah.
anyways, there was like a I think somebody who was playing it. I think it was the doctor that's like super famous on YouTube.
Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike, yeah. So I
Yeah.
think he was playing it, and I think he mentioned at some point that like if there's a big airport in your city, you will
Hmm.
likely get like that area will more than likely get it first just because of the transference of people coming over in and out of
Yeah.
different areas. So looking at this pandemic, it made sense that New York and LA were the two biggest places to get it because we have LAX and New York has JFK.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it only makes sense that we're just kind of like, of course, we're gonna have the biggest amount of people affected.
Funny enough, I did travel by plane recently.
How was that? How did that go? Were there a
We
lot of people on the plane?
There was, but they a plane could only do so much. You know what I
Wait,
mean?
so how does it work? How do they like safety
So
proof the plane?
so when we bought our tickets, so on our plane, we chose Alaska because they had a pretty robust like COVID response.
Okay,
And
good.
then we were gonna choose Southwest, but the problem with Southwest is that there's no direct flights from LA to Seattle where we needed to get to.
Mm,
Like you would have to transfer to another airport. I was just like, absolutely no way. Like I don't want to stay in like San Francisco for like
right.
an hour and like sit on a tarmac. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like whatever's direct, I'm gonna take. So we chose Alaska, and their policy was that when you buy your ticket, um, you'll sit in a row where it's like person, empty person, like it's like three in a row, person, empty person.
Oh, okay.
So that's what they did. And since I was traveling with my brother, we were like, okay, well, let's just pay the extra what like $30 so we could choose our seat. So we make sure we're like, if we get COVID, it's just between us, and it's not like we could blame some other person or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if my statement made sense, but anyways, we did that, and we did a direct flight to Oregon. And this was literally like a week before all the fires happened, by the way.
Oh
So
shoot.
and it's like a week before Labor Day. So there were kind of like less people traveling. So there was a good amount of people, but it wasn't like a crazy amount of people.
So, like percentage wise, how filled would you estimate that plane to have been?
I would say about like 75%.
Oh, that's pretty packed still.
It's still packed. People are still traveling, which kind of boggles my mind. But people work, people have businesses, people do stuff. So
You know
I
what?
can't I can't fault them for trying to get a paycheck.
After this week, when I heard about the whole thing about the people walking through the Target telling people to take off their masks, I have.
Oh, you saw? Oh yeah. Is that like a big thing right now? Is that a big video at the moment?
I mean, it was blowing up on Twitter, so like
Okay, well, fair play.
that was yeah. I've
I was
learned.
face palming so hard when I saw that video. Sorry, did I? Yeah, I think I just. Yeah, sorry.
It
Go
just
on.
felt like Oprah to me. You
Yeah.
take off that mask. You take off that mask. Everybody takes off their masks.
It was like
I
a
was just like,
teenager pointing to the person with the camera and was just like addressing the audience, like, take off your mask. I was just like,
they were
no.
also pointing at people who were following them, and they were like, "Look at these good examples," and I was just like,
Yeah, I was at a Lowe's just earlier, and I just saw a group of family members that are with no mask. And granted, let, let's be honest, like Nevada, the population density is not as big as LA County, so I guess you could say it's not as hot over here.
Ooh, I have a
But
question. I have a
yeah,
question.
oh,
Have
go ahead.
you tried to go into like Las Vegas?
No, and I also don't plan to. I'm like,
For
there's no point.
for the best, obviously. I was just
Yeah,
curious
yeah.
if you like drove through and saw how many people were around, because I was kind of curious to see if people were going into Vegas to go like gambling and stuff like that.
I know that Friday, and we're gonna have a larger conversation about the earthquake that happened. But anyways, Friday when I left from LA to Nevada to get to my sister's place, right? We we saw that it was like freaking packed, and we thought it was like an accident that happened on the 15 freeway. No, it was just like I guess it was to be expected if it's like a bunch of people try to leave LA around a Friday to get to Nevada or Utah.
Hmm.
So it was there was traffic and there was people coming here. So I imagine like this weekend there's a lot of people in Nevada. I just don't think it's worth it. Like you're not just gambling money, you're also gambling potentially getting a virus.
I think there are a lot of people that at this point don't care.
Yeah.
Not in like a don't care kind of way, but like I think so many people think that COVID is like a conspiracy, and I can't blame them. It's like there have been so many mixed responses to how to react to COVID everywhere that
Yeah.
like it kind of feels like you're getting gaslighted because you're just like, what do I believe? What's real, because nobody knows. Like genuinely, I don't think anybody knows the answer.
I totally get that, and I can understand where conspiracies come from in that sense because it's like if it's like this whole global life changing event, you know what I mean? Like it's something that people would want to lean towards any information they can get.
Right. And like me personally, right? Like obviously I
Mhm.
will advocate wearing a mask. Like anytime anyone asks me, like I will
Same.
tell them to wear a mask no matter what. But like I won't I can't deny that in my head when I think about everything, I'm just like, you know, nobody in the world has ever experienced COVID as a thing before. There
Hmm.
have been experiences of other pandemics and stuff like that, but like that was I
Like
don't know.
1919.
It could have been years ago. Who knows?
Well,
But
there was other examples like in the 50s and the 60s, and that
right,
they
but I don't
yeah
think anything like
world changing like this.
within this era of time
Yeah.
too. So like I don't think anybody 100% has an answer. And I think that's the problem,
Hmm.
because I think everybody, when it comes to like things like this, wants a solid like answer, wants someone to tell them like this is what you need to be doing definitively. But
Hmm.
because it's such a developing situation, saying like you need to do one thing right now or saying something is like you should is no really not really a big problem one day could immediately turn out to be like the wrong decision within the next 2 days.
Yeah, and granted, for myself, it's like I really did have that notion at the very beginning where like I can't use a mask if they're prioritizing health officials and like you know dentists and medical practitioners. It's like I can't wear this unless we have a good amount of stock. I don't necessarily thought that the mask didn't work. Like
Mhm.
I would have preferred wanting a mask at the very beginning, but I
Mhm.
knew that like it was something that people in the medical field was they were prioritizing.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I don't
Yeah.
think were they telling not to do it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was like that whole Fauci thing that's like don't wear a mask unless you're a medical practitioner or whatever.
Well, I think what was happening in the beginning when everything was happening was people were specifically looking for masks that medical professionals were using.
Yeah, so the M95 mask or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
because everybody wanted to make sure that they were fine, but because there's such a high demand for it, not enough was going to the people who were at the front line taking care of people who actually had COVID and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I think what happened was that they said, don't use masks or save as many and donate as many if you're like to health officials because they're the ones that are in higher need of the N95 masks. But
Mm-hmm.
I think for any general public person, they recommended using like
Cloth coverings or just anything.
right.
And then later we learned it's like the cloth covering probably didn't work as best as like normal medical grade mask.
Right. And I mean, there is like a whole test on it, right? Like have you ever
Yeah.
heard of like the match, the blowing the fire through the mask one?
Oh yeah, I seen that Instagram thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, at that point, right? Like if you're like in the general public, you could probably use that test and find out, oh well, this mask works the best. But even then, like the mask is not supposed to help you not get it. It's to help you not spread your germs to another person.
Yeah, because the whole point of this kind of situation with the mass, and I can't believe something like this gets politicized, but like the whole point was that because there's a population that is asymptomatic and can spread it without knowing, right? That's the whole point. Like we're just making sure that it doesn't get out of hand.
Right.
And
And it's not like when you catch COVID, you you exhibit symptoms right away. It takes
hmm
2 weeks to incubate before you actually get symptoms and
hmm
get sick. So within that 2 weeks, if you're just doing anything normally, like going out and stuff, you could immediately give it to anybody within that vicinity. So I will stand by saying that it's better to be safe right now than to spread it out to even more people. I don't care if someone tells me like, herd immunity will help us and like I'm not about to willingly try to get sick, you know?
or risk like what several percent of the US population to die.
Right. This is my general stance on everything, right? Which is if in hindsight, right?
hmm
Like someone told me, oh, you know what? I think we did too much.
hmm
Like we didn't necessarily need to go through all of these precautions. That's a hindsight thing because then it's over. It's
hmm
not as big of a deal because it's a hindsight issue looking back at something that was done previously.
Right.
But if you're telling me right now, in the middle of everything, that you're not going to take even like the extra amount of effort or precaution in order to make sure that everybody is okay, then I'm gonna think that you're making the wrong decision. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's Kalani's hot take.
facts, no, but genuinely, like I don't care if it's hindsight. Hindsight is completely different from present day.
Yeah.
You can look back at something and be like, oh well, we didn't really need to do that. We didn't really need to do that. But if you think about it, right? Isn't it better that we took the necessary precautions to make sure that it wouldn't get that crazy anyways,
Yeah.
right?
Hindsight would also be knowing that this thing is actually really serious and gaslighting the American public on it. Hot take, hot take.
I don't think anybody's going to take like okay, there are people taking COVID seriously.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
get me wrong. But I don't think like for people that like who don't see COVID as a as serious issue, right? I don't think they'll realize how big of a deal it was until people start reading about it in our history books because
Yeah.
then it's going to be one of those things, right? Where you're looking at something that happened in the past and you're in your head being like, I can't believe people would make those decisions. Why would they do that? Da-da-da, that's so
And that,
dumb.
yeah, and that yeah, that's really true. And it's like and also like United States is not just a one, you know, entity. You got 50 different entities handling it in 50 separate ways.
Right.
Like when I traveled to Seattle and like went through Oregon and stuff, it's like I saw, like everybody had a mask, but like I think when I was in Seattle, it's like there's businesses that are opening, not like what it is in California. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that we should all full tilt open everything. It's just that there's different models of things. It's like, oh, this local bookstore that's like this big thing in Seattle, and I was just like, oh, it's open.
Right.
And like bookstores here in LA, it's like they're closed.
Mm.
And I'm saying here in LA, I'm like in Nevada at the moment, but like We should be like kind of measured in the way we think COVID at the moment.
Right. I do think like at this point it's okay to maybe like test the waters and see how certain things work out, you know? Like, currently LA is under the mandate that, if you're doing dining, you can do it with a specific seating situation, which is outdoors.
Yeah.
And I've had people like tell me like I don't understand what the difference is between eating outside and eating inside. Like why even put that in place? I've had people tell me that before.
Hmm.
But I think like there's nothing wrong with going out of your way to try to find like alternate solutions in order to help out and kind of progress because
Hmm.
everyone's kind of in the mode to like I want to be out of COVID. I need to like we need to do more in order to improve the economy, yada yada. You get it, you know. But I think you have to do like you can do those things, but you also have to acknowledge that like if it goes wrong, right, you have to immediately reel back those decisions and examine why it was a bad decision in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's like the two sides of the coin argument there. It's like if you don't open, it's like, do you want these businesses to just fail?
mhm,
Which for some people in the business world, like they would say, yeah, just have them fail. But there are people that says like, well, let's do it, and then if there's something wrong, like we'll address those issues. And like I feel like that's also a constructive way of doing things, also.
yeah,
Because like on one point, like people are going back to work, people are doing certain things. It's like, yeah, I would want that to happen because people need to make a living. You know, people. Oh God, this sounds like a very conservative point of view, but but it's like anything to help a community grow. Like given a situation like this where people are out of work and like there's no support, and we've been seeing that even on a federal level, they're not even working for a solution to make it work. So people have to go out of the way to do things so they could literally survive.
right. But I think that's the thing about this entire situation, right? you
Hmm.
can you can acknowledge that the economy is going really badly because of like people losing their jobs and
People
stuff like
losing their
that,
homes.
whatever. Yeah, like those you can acknowledge that that's bad, while acknowledging that you need to take extra precautions in order to make sure that everybody is like safe and we're doing like the least amount of damage to people who are at high risk,
Hmm.
and I I just think like it isn't as simple as being like you're either for the economy or you're for doing like putting everyone back in their homes. It's not as simple as that. There are very like
Yeah.
a lot of nuances to this situation, and it's
And even saying shelter at place is like, what's to that to people that just either self evict from from where they were living, and those that were forced to be taken out of their homes. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So like, who's to say, like how, like why? How can you say shelter in place if you don't have a place?
right. But
So.
even then, it's like how can you reopen things, right?
Hmm.
But have people who are at high risk have to stay home.
Yeah.
Like there are people that normally in every other everyday situation would have a job, but
Right.
because they're considered as a high risk population can't be going out to work because they have a high risk of getting sick.
Yeah, like people that like survive cancer, or like people that have respiratory issues. Like those situations need to be addressed.
Right. And I think the way that we're a lot of like the government is mainly looking at it is just like you're either sick or you're not sick.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of different situations and a lot of different people with different backgrounds out in the world right now.
Hmm.
So it's very difficult to have to address all of the different nuances in the situation properly. And I don't think like even if we want to think that there is somebody out there in the world who probably knows how to do it, I don't fully think that we have like a proper solution to everybody's particular situation. So
Yeah. And no one place has the right answer. I feel, you could say everything you want to say about, Taiwan, New Zealand, and like these places that, have properly like opened up, and like in some cases recently, New Zealand is trying to close back up, but there's resistance, of course. Like there are cultural differences, like there to these places, and you can't just, and I've talked about this with my different podcasts, it's like you can't graph a solution from another place and do it to another nation, like say the US.
right.
Like there are cultural differences, and like we got to meet it where it is and say like, listen, it may work in Taiwan, but if it's in the US, I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. No, like I genuinely think that like you can't take another area's solution and put it onto you, even if it works for them, because
Hmm.
you have to take into consideration that like our population density is a lot different in comparison to other locations.
Yeah.
um Heck, you need to take into consideration travel situations because airports and stuff like that. So it's
Right.
just, there's no one solution to
Yeah.
fixing COVID. It's just,
And on
there
top of that,
isn't.
I think what's the scariest thing is that it affects people differently.
Hmm.
Like there's no like one, like yeah, it is a respiratory illness, but there's like people saying like it can like give you like heart problems in the future. It
Right.
weakens the muscles in the heart, and it can spur early diabetes if you're pre-diabetic.
Right.
So it's like it affects people differently. So I think that's the scary thing in the sense of what's been going on with COVID. And I think it might be a yearly thing. How we have a flu shot every year, and I feel
Hmm.
like this is probably the next thing. This is going to be the next shot that people have to take. But the screwed up thing is that there's a population of people here in the United States that are anti-vaxxers that will just screw up the whole process of having a herd immunity.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
There have been a lot of, I don't know if I want to mention it because it's a political issue, but there's just been a lot of things that have been said within the past 2 weeks or so that I've seen that I've just been like,
Do you feel like it should be a political issue? Because I feel like if it's a public health thing,
I don't think it should be. It shouldn't. Like my ultimate stance on COVID is not going to care whether or not you're a Democrat, a Republican,
hmm
a third, like a third
third
party.
party, a centrist, or yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
not
care.
gonna care. If you're gonna get it, you're gonna get it. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
it shouldn't.
Eh,
Politicians and the government should not be reducing COVID into an issue about politics. It's not an issue about
yeah.
politics. It's an issue about just people being healthy, and it's a public health issue.
And it's
It makes me super upset if it gets
yeah,
boiled down to it.
it's also crazy. It's like if you would, what do you think that a pandemic would bring a nation together? Nope. The U.S. is probably the example where that's not the case.
It makes me super upset
Yeah.
when people boil it down to being like a politics issue. You can argue, right, that
Hmm.
there are issues of economics when it comes to COVID because of
Yeah.
like all the differences between like wealth and poverty, housing and no housing, like
Yeah.
low income housing, all that stuff. Like fine, you can make that discussion because it's actually factually true.
Yeah.
But like no matter what, if you catch COVID, right, they
Hmm.
this disease is not going to care whether or not you like what your
Side with
personal
one side or
ideals are.
another. Listen to QAnon.
Politics is not going to matter when you get
Yeah.
COVID. It's
Yeah.
it's not
It doesn't.
like exactly.
And like,
Um
I think honestly, regardless, it's like, do I want certain people to get COVID? No. Like, even if, say, our commander in chief at this point gets COVID, it's like I would want him to recover. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. This is a sickness. This is not politics.
okay, you know what? I'm going to bring you up because now we're talking about it. So,
Okay. Yeah.
um earlier this week I heard I think Trump made a statement or something like that,
Go on.
and he said something along the lines of like he was talking about the infection rates of COVID, and he was like, technically we're at a decent infection rate if we
Hmm.
eliminate all of the blue states.
Okay.
And that made me super upset. You know,
Oh, wait, how is he gonna? Okay, go on.
it made me super upset because it's like, you're the commander in chief. It shouldn't, you're supposed to be taking care of everybody in the United States. You shouldn't be having like okay, understandably,
A separate conversation where you exclude a certain amount of people because they don't like you.
yeah, exactly. It's like, why?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could kind of see that.
So it was just kind of like like, part of me just started laughing for a quick second, and then the other part of me was just like, this is so fucking messed up.
You start getting like wide-eyed and like, what is going on with this situation?
Right. And you know what? Like, in the end, right, I really, really want his response to COVID to like work.
Mhm.
In the end, right? Like, in the grand scheme of things, like, if Trump were to come up with a plan and it ended up working out, right? Like, I
Mhm.
would be thrilled. I'd be out of my freaking chair. I'd be running through the streets being like, "Oh, thank God," because we finally had like a solution. And
Yeah.
you know what? If it really did work that way, I would be super ecstatic. It wouldn't even matter to me that, like, it's Trump. But when you hear things like this coming from the president, you're just kind of like,
It's almost like an admission that he doesn't care. Almost.
yeah, like,
Yeah, it's like that double speak, or I wouldn't say double speak, but it's almost as if it's a way of signaling to people that he just doesn't care about a half the population because the half the population doesn't even like him anyways.
it
And it
it
shouldn't be about him. It's about getting people to be healthy, and it's getting people to live a normal life again. And the fact that we're not having a constructive conversation about it, and it's been strung out into a political conversation, it's you know I don't know the answer.
right.
And also, if you're trying to say it's like I'm 20, what, 26, if you're getting advice from me, I'm gonna really question your your knowledge.
Either way, I after hearing that, I'm very firmly in, like, COVID should not be related to politics.
Yeah,
I mean,
agreed. Totally
I
agree.
it shouldn't be, but I don't think you can unassociate COVID from politics, like every other discussion that we've had during, this whole administration, because everything that has happened within the 4 years, that is it 4 years? It's been so long. I can't even remember anymore. Anyways,
He's into his fifth year. I'm just kidding.
I don't even know. But anyways, however long this administration has been going, right? You can't unassociate politics from anything, because that's what this administration has been has been driving in, that politics
Mhm.
will innately be driven or be associated with every single discussion that they have.
Yeah.
So it just, like, I don't want it to be. It
Hmm.
shouldn't be. It shouldn't be boiled down to your belief system, whether or not you get taken care of, and whether or not you get the care you need for COVID. It shouldn't.
Yeah, and like people losing their homes, and like even these half measures of like the eviction, the federal eviction moratorium. This like, yeah, it's good news, but it's like it doesn't fix the problem. People will still have to pay that back. Like, and they they didn't if they got if their job was basically they got furloughed or laid off, you know, they didn't have an income for that time. you know
Right.
so I think that's why there are certain people that just self evict, and like either if they had options to go back home they did, but if they didn't, then basically they're self evicting into homelessness.
Right. And then even more, right? I personally don't think masks should be considered a political issue.
Oh yeah, that's definitely shouldn't be a political issue. I have no idea. It's probably a cultural thing. I don't know what it is.
I mean, I guess I can understand it as a symbol of oppression, but like, I
Is
j-
it though?
It takes me a little bit to think about it, right? Because like,
Well, what is the mental gymnastics here right now?
because we watch anime and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've like outside of the podcast, we've had discussions about visiting Japan and visiting Korea and visiting all these places in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm just saying, I feel like I don't think masks are as political of an issue in those areas because it's kind of like, you get the yellow dust storm in China,
Mm-hmm.
you know? A lot of people when they get sick in like Japan or Korea, they'll just slap a mask on just to prevent the spread of their own germs to other people, which is kind of like a
It's a sign of
politeness.
yeah, it's a sign of politeness and
It's a
courtesy. Yeah.
courtesy, yeah. So like here, I'm just kind of like how
Don't worry, Kalani. I've asked that same question to many friends a lot lately, including
I
my coworkers. It's
I
just it's it's frustrating, and I could sense the frustration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is I don't understand how a mask, which is just boiled down to not spreading germs to other people, has been made into like a political symbol of oppression for certain people. I'm just like, it's not oppression. It's just being polite to not spread your goddamn germs.
Well,
Put your damn masks on.
we have a solid death slap from Kalani.
That makes me I there have been so many things that have gotten me super upset, right? Like
Hmm.
my immediate thoughts currently are just like it shouldn't be boiled down to like worrying about politics, but you can't help but worry about politics right now because so much has happened.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
RGBS
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
or RBG.
RPG. Yeah. I
You
can't
know,
believe. Yeah. It's just been a crazy 2020, and I just don't know what's gonna be ahead of us.
I was just thinking too. I was wondering,
Yeah. Go on.
like,
Wonder away.
so RBG had a seat in the house, right?
No, she was a justice.
Oh, she was, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think if you're chief, if you're part of the Supreme Court, I don't think you can have an office on a separate thing.
Okay, well, she had one of those seats, right? And there's
Hmm.
like 8 of them, right? I was like wondering, right? Because I feel like justices generally should have been balanced between like having a good portion that are Democratic and a good portion that are Republican, right? Because then
Hmm.
it would be the true sense of balance within like your checks and balances, right?
Right. Right.
I was wondering, like, literally last night, is there anything that would prevent like a full like Republican or a full Democratic like justice court, or is it just like you just pick whoever?
Well, it has to be confirmed, and through I think the House or the
But
Senate. It
the
has to go.
House will confirm anything right now, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know what's the balance on that.
Because I would have assumed, right? Like the way that they
I don't know if
ins-
there's anything in the Constitution that states that.
yeah, no, I genuinely was curious. This is just
Yeah,
me being curious because it was
yeah,
kind of like thinking about it, right? Like the ideal government situation would be to have an equal parts Democratic and equal parts Republican, just
hmm,
because you would have both like opposing sides with enough people to be able to discuss it, right? But
yeah,
then, you have a majority Republican House with a
hmm,
probably going to be majority House Supreme Court as well with a Republican president. So like generally speaking, like hypothetically everything that happens will probably work out for the administration that's put in place. But
right.
like if if it was to be that like you had wait, do we have a majority? Do we currently have a
I think
house?
now with Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing away, I think now it's more majority conservative.
Right, but I
Yeah.
forgot. Wasn't the House like a majority Democratic now or something like that,
Let
right?
me see. Yeah, I think it's like Nancy Pelosi is the House Majority Leader.
Yeah, because I know that during Obama's presidency, the House had a majority Republican,
How can
like
I Google this House federal system?
I think it's House majority, right?
House majority. Oh yeah, that's right. House majority is like a House leader, and then it's majority is Democratic. Okay.
Right, but anyway,
Yeah.
besides the
All right.
point. Just kind of like I was just thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like if you're in government, theoretically it should be generally equal in order to have like an actual like bipartisan government because you could just equally debate about it. But I don't know.
But let me question you on this. Is like if we try to do it that way, are we tying ourselves down to this two-party system?
Well, I mean, we already are tying ourselves to a two-party system, so
Well, I was just thinking, it's like why can't it be somebody that's just good for the job? Just a justice.
I mean, I've had discussions with the Australian.
With the Australian. Like how you just call it the Australian.
I've had discussions with him about different types of government systems, right? So he was mentioning how like I forgot where, but he was saying like there are certain places that don't have just a bipartisan government. It's like there are grassroots parties, conservative parties, even
A
more
liberal party. Yeah.
and even more like it's a wide it's like a spectrum of different people who
Yeah.
support different things, you know, and then their voting system is entirely different, plus they don't have the electoral college.
Hmm.
So I was just like thinking because I mean I personally would like to see something like that, you know,
Yeah,
like
and I think in some places, like I think Israel, they have like coalition building. So if it's not a clear majority, the person that I think I was following the prime minister thing, but I guess I forgot some of the details. Anyways, but the person that got the majority or like the top two has to go back into an election situation and like talk to the lower parties and say like, hey, listen, like, well, this is what I stand for. Are you going to go for me? Or are you going to go for the other party? And it's
mm,
called, I think it's called coalition building. It's just like, okay, what can I do to bring you onto this side versus my
uh
opponent?
I see.
I think it's part of a bigger election cycle.
mm.
Yeah,
And I was just curious because it was kind of like
and I'm not trying to say that Brett Kavanaugh is the best choice, but it's just like I would say if I thought you just turned on a video for a second. Well, I'm not saying that he's the best choice or anything, but it's like it's if we're trying to look past a two-party system, like should we not try to tie ourselves down to an idea that where we have an equal amount Democratic and an equal amount Republican?
well, I did. Thing is, I feel like if we were to get rid of the two-party government system, right,
Hmm.
that would require an entire rehaul of the entire foundations of what we've been running on for years.
That's a good
Which
point.
one I think if like put into the right hands, it could work.
Hmm.
You know, I don't think anything is wrong with change,
Yeah,
but like thinking about it, would people be 100% on board with rehauling our entire government system when people are already not okay
I.
with reforming,
Well,
you
there's a
know?
lot of conversations behind that, but it's it. Yeah, what you say is true. It's like it has to come through how people need to be about it.
Right.
People talk about it.
As much as it's a government thing, I think like it is ultimately an issue about what people believe is the right decision.
Yeah,
And if people are already very apprehensive about change, I don't think suggesting to change out of a bipartisan government system would be as accepted as like other different discussions out there.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's impossible within my lifetime, but like within this for like couple decades currently, I don't think it's necessarily possible. But it's like in the future, like maybe is something that people need to consider.
yeah,
And ultimately, what I try to say is, regardless of how you feel, vote,
yeah.
please. Anyways,
Didn't we already voted for LA, right? Wasn't that didn't we vote before COVID? Like
we voted before COVID, but even then, I mailed in my ballot. I actually dropped off my ballot at the city hall.
I did a walk-in ballot at the high school that's close by to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was like, I already voted, right?
No. So we have to vote for the presidential election. We vote for some
Oh,
laws
we
and some
voted for
stuff.
the local elections, didn't we?
Yeah, we voted for the local elections. There's going to be another voting cycle coming up in November, and that's the
Right.
president plus some laws.
How do you feel about the whole discussion about mail-in ballots right now?
I think it should be available. I don't think it should be politicized the way it is. Because it's an option.
The
It's a way of doing things. If
the ultimate end discussion of this entire podcast is it should not be politicized.
it's it's one of the many tools to get people out to vote, and I can't believe it's becoming this idea that if you're conservative, you need to disenfranchise people, and if you're liberal, you have to try to get as many people registered to vote. Like, I can't believe it's something where we have to politicize. It's just, we as a nation, we should have encourage everybody to vote, regardless of who you side with, what location you live in. It's like there should be, instead of putting back polling location, there should be more polling locations. We're going to make it easier for people to vote.
Right.
I just can't believe it's just we got to this level. I'm glad to some degree that we live in California. It's very voter friendly, and we have a lot of options, and we have a lot of people advocating, and we don't have like crazy ID laws and like other states that utilize certain voting restrictions. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad for that. But like considering like other places like Ohio, Florida, it's like all of these places that have some situations where I feel like there are voter suppression happening. Like there are cases of voter suppression. And
Yeah.
I just it's one of many tools, and people, and if you really want to vote in person, do it. I don't care, just as long as you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm willing, and I've said this before, I'm willing to get way more junk mail than I should, if only because it's a signal that they care that I vote.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. That. Anyways, let's wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. But I did want to talk about a little bit of what just happened in this weekend, at the
Yeah.
start of the weekend.
Mm.
We've had an earthquake, or at least you did. I was
So
I was on the way to a different state by the time it happened.
there's a like a video that perfectly summarizes how I felt about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't remember who it's by, but it's
Mm-hmm.
a guy just staring up and looking super confused, and there's just like dust raining down on him from the ceiling.
Yeah.
That was me yesterday. I was just like sitting here, literally like this, and I was just watching something.
It's
All of
like
a
a
sudden, I felt
TikTok.
shake. Not a
Oh,
TikTok.
sorry.
It was like a vine. Hello, friend. But anyways, I like felt the shaking like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, and then it shook like this. And then I almost broke my neck running out of my room. I just like ran out and I opened the door. I was like, Ma! And my dad slept through it.
Oh, your dad slept? My brother slept through it.
Yeah.
Allegedly. I wasn't there to see it, but
Yeah. It didn't last for a long time. It just was super strong. Like it shook the entire house.
was there any more shaking after that? Well, like, aftershocks and stuff?
They did have aftershocks, but I didn't feel anything.
Okay. Yeah, like where I live, like they felt it. I think my brother kind of like woke up, like not like out of the bed, but just kind of like shaking. Went back to sleep.
Well, the epicenter was Almani Rosemead.
Yeah, El Monte, like the 60 freeway and Rosemead
Yeah,
Boulevard,
yeah,
the
yeah,
19.
yeah. So I was just like,
Yeah. So yeah, it was close by, and surprised he slept through that. I'm not at my house, so I can't really check if there's anything broken. I have a bunch of vinyl. I have my guitars that are hung up, so like I have to wait until next Wednesday to
I think
survey.
it should be fine.
Yeah.
I don't. It didn't. It shook very strongly, but I don't think it was like bad enough to knock things down if they're secured enough. So
I think the only thing I'm afraid of is that I have this like ceramic skull I bought from Mexico, and also it's like I have that pretty high up. I hope it's in one piece.
yeah, you should probably check that when you get back.
Yeah. And there's so many conversations of like we're in California. I was talking to some friends about it. One of my very close friends had a really funny comment. Just talked about his weight. He's like, "My bad. It's I fell off my chair."
Jesus Christ.
I was just like, "You know what? You know what? Awesome response. Awesome." Um, but like the fact that we're going through these historic fires, one started by a gender reveal party, and I think another one is the Bobcat fire
Yeah.
within our area. It's like, it's Labor Day. I'm pretty sure somebody was just careless, didn't mean for it to happen. Like I'm generally more forgiving as long as it's not a gender reveal party. But this
I
is just
mean,
a situation we have right now, and we've talked. Oh, sorry. Hold that thought, please. I've had that conversation with when we did our national parks episode with the teacher from UTLA. Is that it's we say a big talk about national parks, and we say a big talk about conserving the forests and the forest areas. Like we haven't really managed our forests in any shape or form. We just had this laissez-faire attitude of as long as it doesn't burn, it's fine. But like we've had situations where it's almost every year there's like this historic fire in California, and like it's not becoming historic anymore. It's just becoming almost an every year occurrence at this point.
yeah.
So it's just what's next, and I'm gonna predict it now. It's like what's next is like we're gonna have massive landslides coming up.
I don't want to think about it.
And in these areas where um like one of my favorite hiking spot got burned. It's near Mount Wilson. So I'm just like, what's gonna stop that like hilly canyon area from like losing its ground and just being gone?
Yeah.
So
It really feels like an apocalyptic situation. I'm pretty sure zombies are gonna pop out somewhere eventually.
okay. I actually got to just text. My brother just texted me right now. Nothing in my room got broken. That's good
Oh,
to
I
know.
thought you were gonna say that he said he saw zombies or something.
I am not ready for that. I have ammo, but I don't have nothing to shoot it from.
I am not gonna be okay if zombies start popping up. I swear to God, I will run out of here so fast.
Yeah, all I got was pellet guns. Anything that could shoot out of is just a pellet gun.
I just, it already feels like an apocalypse. I'm just here for the ride.
Yeah, that's what's everybody's feeling.
I'm gonna eat a bowl of ramen after this, and I'm just literally gonna be like watching the fire, kind of like the dog in that one meme that's just like, this is fine.
This is fine.
This is fine.
So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I feel like every time we've had a podcast together, we've just been kind of getting more and more defeated.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It just progresses slowly into.
At least we're laughing together.
Oh God.
I was like,
hurts.
I was thinking about it. It's like I cannot watch Rick and Morty right now because it's like I'm living the Rick and Morty reality. It's like it's too real. I have to watch something else that's like The Office or Parks and Rec, where I could escape.
This is starting to hurt, man. Please.
Okay. How about let's end on this point. So what are you watching right now?
What am I watching?
Let's tell the audience a way that they could escape at the moment.
Animal Crossing. I'm just kidding. I'm planning to get Super Mario, the new 3-pack one.
It just released this weekend, didn't it?
It did. I'm planning to get that so I can go play Super Mario Sunshine.
I would want 64 again, just to relive my Nintendo 64 days.
I'm pretty sure there's probably a 64 version somewhere.
Well,
Isn't 64 in that pack?
It's in that pack.
Yeah, you should just get it.
Yeah, and
Good way to escape. Buy a game.
just buy a game. I've been watching, and this would be my recommendation for the audience. Lovecraft Country.
Oh, I've heard good things.
HBO Max.
I've heard
It's
good
so
things.
good. I think this wouldn't be a critique. I was just like at the very beginning of the show, it's like this. You know how like any show or TV would talk about race and stuff like that. It's all surface level almost. Like violence and like you're black, I'm white,
Yeah.
sort of situation. But like middle of like the 5th episode, there's like stuff that talks about whiteness and like it starts getting much more deeper than just skin color, I think.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yes, yeah, like yes and no, because like it talks about female issues when it comes to like the African American community and stuff like that. So
It
I
goes
would
deeper.
it goes deeper than what's been seen in like the front,
Right.
And I've been trying to watch Raised by Wolves, but I'm just gonna wait until all the episodes are out. I was just like, I don't know. It's like I want to support it, but it's like when it comes to that high sci-fi stuff, it's like I just want to shotgun the series, just like Stranger Things. Has like that sci-fi element. It's like I'm just gonna watch it all at once it's all out.
I'm trying to think of what I've watched. I haven't really watched that much recently, but the Australian recently got me to watch a movie called Arrival.
Oh, the DL Villeneuve movie.
The one with the
giant egg.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. I would recommend it. It's a really good movie.
That director is directing Dune, and he did Blade Runner. So I honestly just watch Blade Runner after that.
Blade Runner. Yeah. I'm planning to. I kind of want to watch it for the effects.
2049. Yeah, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it with the Australian.
I will try to get the Australian to watch it when I have time, but usually it's him dragging me.
Yeah, he's into sci-fi, isn't he?
Yeah. See, the problem isn't getting him to watch it. The problem is getting me to watch it.
I hope my recommendation kind of like swayed you to watch it.
I did kind of want to watch it originally, but I'm gonna tell him, and then he's gonna tell me to watch it at some point. I know.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so hope you enjoy. Take these recommendations, and I hope you can escape for at least an hour or two. And hopefully we see this podcast again next week. Hopefully I could get a good cast of people in.
Yeah.
Not to say I don't want to see you, Kalani. I'm just.
It's okay. It's a monthly thing now. It's like a monthly checkup.
Yeah, I feel like it is a monthly checkup. We
like yell about things for a month.
Next month is October. Should we complain how Halloween is not happening?
I made a goal, right? Because I've kind of slowed down in playing Animal Crossing, but I made it a goal that if I play Animal Crossing and I have visitors, like I'm selling something or I'm going to someone else's island, I will wear a crazy costume to their place.
For October or just any?
For October, specifically October, just to make myself feel better about Halloween not being there because I like Halloween.
Oh yeah, speaking of, there should be a fall update soon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There is.
That's right. There's Halloween costumes already, like a Dracula cloak and everything. We're supposed to stop this podcast already. We're extending.
I made a meringue cosplay in game.
I made a hipster cosplay. You're already in. You say hi. Okay, cool. Yeah, I already made a hipster cosplay.
Yeah, no, I have a strawberry hat, and then the cook the cook shirt that she wears. So I'm
Mhm.
literally gonna be like, I'm in a meringue cosplay.
Mm. All right. Well, maybe we should do one soon. Maybe we should do a Halloween special. Just have you, me, maybe Vincent, maybe the Australian
Yeah, we'll
come
just wear
on.
costumes.
Just wear
Actually,
costumes.
the Australian does not like Halloween.
Well, Halloween is not a big deal in Australia, anyways.
That's so true.
I remember recently someone in my family was all like, "Oh, just give away this candy in Halloween." I was just like, "You realize nobody's gonna be out here, right?"
No one's gonna be out.
Just have a bag full of expired Australian candy.
You'll figure out something to do with it. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Anyways, all right. We're done. We're done. We're gonna finish
Okay,
up
I'm
this
gonna make
podcast.
noodles. I'm making noodles now. I'm gonna go make noodles.
All right. All right. Do you want to talk about your noodles?
No, let's go. So
Just
I
kidding.
can take medicine and get better.
All right. All right. All right. All right. We're gonna finish up. Thank you for watching. I hope you like and subscribe and do all this fun stuff. And we'll see Kalani and their noodles in a different
In a
day.
month.
In a month. All right.